You can support all of our KUT and KUTX podcasts and programs through a sustaining membership. Learn how at KUT.org or KUTX.org. Enjoy the program.
From the University of Texas at Austin, KUT Radio. This is In Black America.
I began to braid my hair in college because the young ladies were being told that they couldn't get certain positions in college and they couldn't work for different places. The work was really limited to black women with natural hair. And when I saw these things happening, I started to braid my hair and embrace myself. And during that time, Soul Train was really popular, and I would see the braids from all over the coast, from the east to the west, and what we were doing. And I started to love it. And when I started braiding my hair in college, then everyone was asking, well, can you braid my hair? And I did, because I found a new life for myself. It's like loving myself outside of the social norms and what we were taught to feel and think about ourselves. So I started to embrace that goddess in me, that beauty in myself. I was like, look, shoot, I am the real Queen Nefertari. I'm Cleopatra in the flesh.
Isis Brantley, founder of NaturallyIsis. Brantley is an expert African hair braider, known across the state of Texas as the woman who fought to ensure those who practiced and taught African hair braiding did not need a state-mandated license to do so. In 2007, when the state of Texas began regulating hair braiders, it wedged Texas hair braiding license into the state barbering statute. As a result, to teach the 35-hour braiding curriculum Texas required, Brantley had to do 3 useless things. First, install 3 barber chairs that she was not even required to use. Second, obtain at least 2,000 square feet of floor space she was not required to fill. And third, mount 5 sinks, even though Texas braiders were prohibited from offering services that required a sink. Texas also told her she had to become a licensed barber school instructor. In January 2015, the federal court declared the 3 barbering school requirements unconstitutional as applied to hair braiding schools. I'm John Hanson Jr., and welcome to another edition of In Black America. On this week's program, the woman who fought the state of Texas over natural hair braiding and won, Isis Brantley, in Black America.
So instead of opening up the storefront in 95, I started to get this backlash from the state of Texas saying, we heard that you're braiding hair. And so I just ignored it pretty much. And then in 97, the first week I opened up my business, a storefront, legit, all of that. I opened it up, and then 7 cops raided the shop the week I opened it up. And basically they just came in like some real strong force, and I'm like, what is going on? So they came in, and what they did is they said, you're going to jail. You are violating the cosmetology law. You're braiding without a cosmetology license, and we come to arrest you. And I was like, no, you're kidding me. I can't be going to jail for braiding. That's my culture. And they did. In front of my clients and the community, they handcuffed me, carted me off like a common criminal, booked me, stripped me, fingerprinted me, and threw me in a jail cell.
Isis Brantley is the woman who made it possible for thousands to be able to practice and teach natural hair braiding without a state-mandated license in Texas. Her personal fight against the state began in 1997 when several undercover officers entered her hair braiding shop and arrested her for braiding hair without a cosmetology license. That experience made her a passionate advocate for the right of braiders. On October 1st, 2013, Brantley joined with the Institute of Justice to file a federal lawsuit against the state of Texas. In that lawsuit, Brantley sought to vindicate the rights of African hair braider instructors to earn an honest living, free from unreasonable government interference, so that she may teach her craft to the next generation of braiders who wanted to earn their living braiding hair. In January 2015, U.S. District Judge Sam Sparks ruled that the regulation excluded Brantley from the market absent a rational connection with fitness or capacity to engage in hair braiding instruction unconstitutional. Recently in Black America spoke with Isis Brantley.
I am born and raised in Banton Nation. That's the southern sector of Dallas, the most, how can I say it, disenfranchised communities, impoverished communities. I was born in that area to a young mother at the time, and then I sprouted my wings and started, and I got older and started searching for truth.
I understand. So when did you get interested in braiding?
I got interested in braiding when I left for college, and I met a young man that introduced me to something totally different from the world that I came from, because the world I came from, everything was geared towards fixing yourself, fixing your hair, making sure you're presentable for society. You will never get a job if you look this way, if you talk that way. Making sure that your standards of beauty was all about what we saw on TV, emulating European beauty standards. And once I got outside of that environment, that I was trained to think in terms of myself as not important and something else outside of me is more important. I met this young man, and he introduced me to African spirituality and African culture, and that's where it all opened up for me. I began to braid my hair in college because the young ladies were being told that they couldn't get certain positions in college, and they couldn't work for different places. The work was really limited to Black women with natural hair. And when I saw these things happening, I started to braid my hair and embrace myself. And during that time, Soul Train was really popular, and I would see the braids from all over the coast, from the east to the west, and what we were doing. And I started to love it. And when I started braiding my hair in college, then everyone was asking, well, can you braid my hair? And I did, because I found a new life for myself. It's like loving myself outside of, the social norms and what we were taught to feel and think about ourselves. So I started to embrace that goddess in me, that beauty in myself. I was like, look, shoot, I am the real Queen Nefertari. I'm Cleopatra in the flesh. So that's how I felt. It's like something awakened in me, and that's when I got my wings and I started to sprout my wings.
Are there different types of braiding? Or is it just one?
There are different types of braiding, like there's different types of tribes. There are different types of people, different types of spirituality. Yeah, there's different types of braiding, of course.
So how did you go about learning the art?
By practicing it and learning more about people that embraced it, and reading more about the kings and queens from Africa and how this whole legacy was created long before Europeans were even discovered on the planet. And that's how I kind of got closer to my ancestors and started learning more about my indigenous antiquity type of belief and culture. Like, I knew that there was something else. And I began to open up my heart and open up my mind to what else I was supposed to know on this plane.
So when you left college and you moved back to Dallas, I assume, so did you continue your craft?
Absolutely. After I became aware in college that everything that I had been taught was false. And I kind of threw that away and started to embrace more my indigenous culture. And I brought it with me. And, of course, when I brought it home, first thing my parents would say was, oh, my God, why are you making yourself look like that? You need to do something to your hair. You need to fix your hair. I'm like, fix my hair. This is how I did. And then I want to embrace how I was naturally created. You know what I'm saying? And so there were issues. There were a lot of issues in my family because when I grew my locks, they thought that was something that would get me in trouble or have me stopped by authorities, and I didn't understand, like, this is how my hair grows, and this
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm embracing now. So I had to go through that, but eventually I just said, well, whatever your thought pattern is, I respect it, but this is what I'm going to embrace.
So how long did you braid in your home before you moved to a storefront?
I braided in my home for years. I started in 1980 in college, and then from college I started going on stage and presenting different cultural events for people in the community. We did a whole comedic show for Yosef Ben Yochanan and some other theologians and scholars. And that was during the time that we were doing a whole concept of beauty at Bishop College when it was called Bishop College.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started meeting people that wanted to embrace their natural hair. Of course, a lot of the music professionals like Stevie Wonder, people like Ashford and Simpson. There was a lot of different people out there that were already seen with their hair braided or plaited or in locks and with beads, and it was just beautiful. And then when I started putting it on myself, then I started getting people that wanted it. And so I said, okay, come on, I'll do your hair. And at the time, the beginning of my start, I wasn't charging people for anything. I didn't look at it as like a business at that time. I just looked at it as cultivation and the beauty that I could give back to my people to make them smile. And that's pretty much what I did for years. For a good 10 to 15 years, I was braiding hair in the city of Dallas for 15 years before the state of Texas came at me and said, oh, you can't do that. You can't braid no hair here. Wait a minute. You need our permission to do that. And that's when everything else started to unfold. It's like, oh, I'm breaking a law? My goodness, I've already been doing this for 15 years. But that's how I started. I started out cultivating the community, helping women. I'm an advocate for women and children and pulling them in and teaching them the art.
So what happened when they came to the storefront? When they said you could no longer, braid hair without their permission, so to say?
Well, there's a lot of things that happened. So I left my home in 93, the beginning of 94, and I decided to open up a storefront. So instead of opening up the storefront in 95, I started to get this backlash from the state of Texas saying, we heard that you're braiding hair. And so I just ignored it pretty much. And then in 97, the first week I opened up my business, a storefront, legit, all of that. I opened it up, and then 7 cops raided the shop the week I opened it up. And basically they just came in like some real strong force. And I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? So they came in, and what they did is they said, you're going to jail. You are violating the cosmetology law. You're braiding without a cosmetology license, and we come to arrest you. And I was like, no, you're kidding me. I can't be going to jail for braiding. That's my culture. And they did. In front of my clients and the community, they handcuffed me, carted me off like a common criminal, booked me, stripped me, fingerprinted me, and threw me in a jail cell. That's what they did.
So what was the law?
The law
that you were supposedly violating?
I don't think they even had a law, because their books and in their curriculum, they never embraced locks or twists or braids or any natural hair care textures. So I think I was the first to bring awareness to them that they needed to find a way to right this wrong, because they created their whole cosmetology industry without black hair in mind. So my fine was braiding without a cosmetology license, and I had to go to trial. I had some insurance. I had a full-fledged trial, so they put me on the stand to convict me for braiding, and was trying to give me time spent in jail for braiding. And I'm like, no, I need a lawyer. And that's when I went and got a lawyer. They put an injunction on my building. They shut my business down. Me and my 5 children had no place to go, became homeless, and then the community rallied around us and started to give us the necessities that we needed for me to continue on with this battle that I had embarked upon with the state of Texas. But I was pretty ready because in '95 I had heard that some of the cosmetology schools, black-owned schools, had taken my name to the state of Texas, and that they were upset because I don't know, I somehow I got the name Queen of Braids. I don't know who decided I was the Queen of Braids in Dallas, but I became the queen of this beautiful art. And then I don't think the competition was happy, and they went to tell on me. They went to tell the people that I was violating a law. And they felt, like if we had to go to cosmetology school for 2 years and pay $20,000, you have to do the same thing.
Now, Isis, I'm glad you ended that thought. Now, there weren't any courses available or someone at a level in which you could go to obtain a license to braid, so it kind of didn't make sense to you?
Ain't nothing on no level here to help sustain our, culture and our identity here. So by me letting them know that this is ancestral, they don't use the word ancestral. They don't even know what that is. So they tried for 10 years. So it took 20 years to win this case. The first 10 years was like, okay, back and forth. They sued me. We countersued, back and forth. And finally they said, we can't find anyone in the state of Texas to teach you ancestral braiding. Of course not. You don't do ISIS locks. You don't do Nubian knots. You don't do cornrows from Senegal. You don't do sister locks. You don't do these things. So, of course, you can't find anybody to teach these things to me. And so they grandfathered me, but they made a law of 35 hours that they were requiring everybody in the state of Texas to adhere to, and it was my curriculum that they had stole during all the hearings, which, I wouldn't say stole, they borrowed it, like they borrowed us from Africa, you know what I'm saying? So they used that to put in place so that the people could pay them pay them $500 to $1,000 to go to a school where they said they're teaching braiding, and they have some Dutch lady teaching the course or some European woman teaching the course. So the young people during that time, we were flourishing. The natural hair was flourishing in the early 90s and in the late 90s, and people wanted this certification because they had been taking classes learning how to do sister locks and all these other techniques they were learning all over the country, and they would bring it back, and they couldn't practice their art, their cultural art form in Dallas. So when they went to the schools and saw that the schools were perpetrating and weren't really teaching them anything about ancestral braiding, then they all came to me to learn the art. So that was the first 10 years, and then I got grandfathered. Then they said, your grandfather, we can't find anybody to teach you, but you can't teach anybody either. You have to become a barber. You have to go to barber school. You have to have 2,500 square foot building. You have to become a barber instructor, and you have to do over 1,500 hours.
That makes no sense.
How crazy is this? Like, really? I'm not a barber. I don't use sharp instruments, tools. I'm not cutting hair. I'm not shaving hair, any of that. No, I didn't understand it, so I had to get another lawyer, which I met. I guess, the universe is just always aligning everything. And when I was down in Austin, I ran into Aris Panju, who works with the Institute for Justice, and he said, I heard about your case. I'd love to represent you. So it's almost like, the guardian angels, the ancestral guardians were putting everything together for me, and I was meeting the people that I needed to meet on this journey.
Now, how did this journey have on your children?
It impacted my children quite a bit. I was mostly always in court and in these different hearings with people that didn't look like me, trying to convict me of something that they didn't even practice. And I left the kids a lot because I had to be at work and I had to be present. And so, I'm making up for that now. My kids were left out of a lot of things. I remember when my son had a noose hanging in his locker because, they were very Afrocentric there in Allen, and their teachings were quite different from the regular black children that attended the school. And he didn't want me to bring it to the news. And I remember, cases where my children were in schools, elementary schools and middle schools in Allen, and they weren't allowed to wear their locks, and they were told that they can't have locks in the school. And so I had to deal with that too, while I was dealing with the state of Texas and while I was still trying to put food on the table to feed my 5 babies.
Did you actually have to go to jail, or you were just in and out of court frequently?
No. I just told you I got 7 cops, don't look like me, busted in my shop, arrested me, handcuffed me.
So when you were arrested, you went to jail?
And took me to jail. Yeah, they literally took me to jail and was talking about more time if I didn't comply. And I didn't understand what they wanted me to comply to. I'm not a chicken, I'm an eagle. You've been telling us we're chickens all this time, and then finally I realized that I have wings, that I could fly. So now I need to ask you some questions. What is it about my hair that intimidates you? What is about my ancestral braiding indigenous identity makes you feel that you have the right to incriminate me and to oppress me with my own culture, to take it away from me? It's systematic, and I get that, but I didn't want to sit at the table and eat with them. I didn't want them to give me welfare. I didn't want the government to offer me anything other than some answers on why you don't want me to represent myself, fully. Why can't I be who I am, too? I'm not European. I don't grow straight hair. My hair spirals like my DNA. I'm different. I have ancestral roots. I have African roots. What about me intimidates you? And I wanted some answers. And pretty much it went on for 20 years, and I got some answers. Judge Sam Sparks said, it's unconstitutional to stop her from braiding or to oppress her culture, because what she's doing is older than me. And at the time, he was 76. So he let the whole audience know, you have no right to, you're violating her constitutional rights. And she has the right to practice her ancestral art, and she has the right to economic opportunity.
I understand. Why is it important for our culture that braiding is included in it?
Because braiding is a symbol of our culture as we relate to our spiral. Our spiral is connected to all of the spiral and all of the melanin that's in nature. And the Africans believe that God spirals in our hair, God nestled in our hair. So our hair stands up. Our hair doesn't fall down. Our hair stands up, and it connects directly to the sun and to the heavens. And that is the first land that we own. And if we are oppressed or if we are enslaved on our head, if our heads are not free and we don't think like we are free and we are being told that we can't wear locks, twists, and braids the way our hair naturally connects with nature, then something is wrong with that. And what it does, it tears down the self-esteem. I've seen children in schools being told that they can't look a certain way, they can't wear their afros, or they can't wear their hair out because it's offensive, it's unprofessional, it's inhumane, and all these different things that children learn early on in their environment. And it's important that we know the beauty and the work. We have to know our own work. What is your work? Your work is your spirals. Your work is your texture. Your work is that which God placed upon your head. That's the highest point on your body, and that's the closest to the heavens. It's closest to the Most High. So that's why it's important, because that's the first land you own. And if we are mentally shackled and mentally oppressed and mentally enslaved, then we have nothing. I think our hair is the last thing that is enslaved on us. So we want to give the kids back, a sense of love, a sense of self-love, a sense of, worth, self-worth. What is your worth? Do you value yourself? These are the things that we want to do in our community constantly, is to remind our children that they are worthy, that you are golden, that you you are a child that came here already connected to your divine, essence, your divine spirit, your divine beauty. Black hair is the only hair that I've seen that's enslaved in this country. There are 3 different types of hair: European hair, Asian hair, and Afro. And Afro hair there's a big global growing community that's trying to bring the recognition and the beauty of Afro and the respect of Afro hair back to humanity.
So, Isis, what do you say about these companies that are selling synthetic hair?
I say to all people, African people adorn themselves with all different types of fiber. We didn't just paint our nails and put lipstick on. Mm-hmm. We use all types of fiber. We use yarn. We use linen fiber. There's so many different ribbons. We use beads. We use so many things in nature to adorn ourselves. We use cotton. We use all types of things to adorn ourselves, and we're creative beings. So I don't say anything to anybody, not even the French, the British, the Europeans, the Dutch, anybody that has stolen and taken all the wealth and gold from Black people. I don't have anything to say to you other than one day we will take back our trillions.
Isis, a couple of more questions. We understand that you are the gold standard in braiding, but what happens if a stylist doesn't know the ancestral way to braid?
It's really sad. That's where alopecia comes in. That's where traction alopecia comes in. That's where people start romanticizing with the styles over the healing through the hair. The healing through the hair is the most important thing. Our people are suffering at the hands of those stylists that do not come to the Institute of Ancestral Braiding and get their training. We are suffering with eczema. We're suffering with so many scalp disorders right now, and that's due to the products that we're using over the counter, the products that the stylists are using on our hair. So that's why we need to understand. We've gone from Crisco now to Gorilla Glue. I mean, come on. We have to get this together. And if we never were given the right to twist, lock, and braid hair in this country, it was against the law to be seen in public this way. Mm-hmm. We didn't just wake up hating our hair and hating ourselves. The kink killer was very popular in this country. The KKK, not kink crazy, was very popular in this country. Our people were not allowed to look in the mirror in this country. We are the walking statues. When you talk about the monuments and the statues, here we go. Here we are. This is who we are.
Isis Brantley, founder of NaturallyIsis. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions as to future In Black America programs, email us at inblackamerica@kut.org. Also, let us know what radio station you heard us over. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can hear previous programs online at kut.org. Also, you can listen to a special collection of In Black America programs at American Archive of Public Broadcasting. That's americanarchives.org. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station or of the University of Texas at Austin. Until we have the opportunity again, for technical producer David Alvarez, I'm John L. Hanson, Jr. Thank you for joining us today. Please join us again next week.
CD copies of this program are available and may be purchased by writing In Black America CDs, KUT Radio, 300 West Dean Keaton Boulevard, Austin, Texas, 78712. That's In Black America CDs, KUT Radio, 300 West Dean Keaton Boulevard, Austin, Texas, 78712.